It is truly my honor now to introduce and honor Susan Magsamen. Susan is the Executive Director of the International Arts and Mind Lab at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, where she is helping to lead a global movement at the intersection of arts, science, and human flourishing. For decades, she has worked at the forefront of research exploring how creative practice shapes our brains, our bodies, and our capacity to live connected, meaningful lives. Through her groundbreaking book, Your Brain on Art, How the Arts Transform Us, there it is, Susan makes an essential case that arts are not extra, they are essential to our well-being. In her words, when the arts become a regular practice, the way you might improve nutrition, increase exercise, and prioritize sleep, you unleash an innate tool that helps you navigate the peaks and valleys of your inner life. And Susan, you go on to say that the best thing is we don't need to think of ourselves as great or even good at making art to experience the benefits. What moves me most about your work, Susan, is your reminder that when we don't have the words to make sense of the world or what we're feeling and experiencing, we can turn to our imagination and our other ways of knowing for help. When our intellect fails us in moments of grief, uncertainty, awe, or transformation, creativity offers another pathway. We can draw, we can move, sing, shape, build, and tap into these other ways of knowing that we all innately possess. And what makes Susan's leadership especially powerful in this moment is that she does this work through the rigor of science. In a society that so often values only what can be measured and empirically proven, she brings deep research and data to something that has too often been dismissed as a luxury or a nice to have. By grounding creativity in neuroscience and health research, Susan ensures that this essential human capacity is not sidelined, but understood, respected, and elevated as vital. Susan, your scholarship, your leadership, and your deep belief in human creative potential have strengthened this field immeasurably. It is my great privilege to present you with the B'Tselem Elohim, We Are All Created Creative honor. At the beginning of our Torah, we learn that every person is made in the divine image. Tonight, we honor the way you affirm that creativity lives at the core of who we are. All please join me in celebrating Susan Magsamen. And Susan, we are grateful to turn it over to you.
So beautiful. Thank you so much. I am truly honored. I'd like to begin tonight with a heartfelt thank you for your presence, for your openness, for your beauty, and the creative spirit that so lives so vibrantly in this community. Just listening right now has just been such a gift for me. And it's an honor to spend time together with you to talk about what you already know in your bones, that the arts and aesthetics heal and flourish. You know, we know that lived experiences are so important for creative expression and for helping us to navigate uncertainty, to stay grounded, and to remember who we are. My thoughts tonight are simply to offer some scientific framing about things that we already have been thinking about. And I've watched how the wisdom and courage and the resonance in this community is just so strong. But before I do, I'd love to share a short video from my lab that expresses what I think of as the wonder of this work. And I hope that it brings you joy and peace. So maybe we could share the video. hope that you're breathing a little easier. You know, for a long time, science and art lived in separate worlds, and it wasn't always this way. That separation happened slowly over centuries, and this break has been catastrophic for humanity. But in the last several decades, the emergence of this field that I work in called neuroaesthetics has opened a window into what actually happens in our brains and bodies when we encounter beauty, awe, nature, and the arts. We now have more language to describe these phenomena. And we know that when we create or experience art, our brain's reward systems light up. Our stresses physiology quiets down. Neural networks that don't normally communicate between connect entirely new ways. And in short, creativity creates integration, and integration is the very foundation of health. We now know that nature's sounds improve mood and cognition. We know that listening to music supports coping during crisis, and things like dance movement therapy lowers depression as much as 70%. We also know music therapy reduces depression symptoms, that group singing reduces anxiety, that relaxing music lowers cortisol up to 40%. And things like clay and art therapy improve youth emotional regulation. And thematic art programs improve cognitive function for older adults, and so many other things. But what is happening right now is bigger than the extraordinary studies. There is a global awakening around the arts, and initiatives like the Global Arts NeuroArts Blueprint, which is a collaboration between my lab and the Aspen Institute, are building bridges between clinical laboratories and lived practices. We are broadcasting a message that is finally reaching the mainstream, that the arts are not a luxury, that they're a biological imperative across continents. We are proving that creative engagement reduces anxiety, supports trauma recovery, and increases longevity. And we're seeing this happen in so many initiatives. Currently, there's a program called the Community NeuroArts Coalitions in the United States that is linking 11 communities in a hyper-local way with schools, colleges and universities, faith-based organizations, cultural institutions, healthcare and community programs. Every community is identifying the needs of their community and using the adult arts to address whether it's things like mental health or creating aging and urban development programs. We're also seeing all kinds of things happening where there are no longer silos between fields, but where fields are coming together to solve what has been seen as really intractable problems. But here is the most important part of this story that I want to share with you tonight. Science and technology can measure the drop of cortisol. It can map neuronal pathways. But what it will never do is replace the profound spiritual depth embedded in creative practice, the experience of awe, the moment when time dissolves, the sense of belonging to something larger than yourselves. These are the experiences. This is what you are cultivating through the work that you are doing with the Jewish Studio Project. So science will validate what artists already know, but it is the communities like yours that have long practiced what science is only now catching up to. You aren't inventing something new, but what you are doing is remembering something ancient. So when we create together, we are not escaping reality, but we are building capacity to meet it. When we sing, when we paint, when we dance, we are literally reshaping our neural pathways towards connection rather than isolation. And we're rehearsing new futures. So I want to thank you for being stewards of that possibility. And thank you for holding space where beauty is taken seriously, where uncertainty is allowed, and where spirit and science can converge. What you are doing here matters culturally, spiritually, and biologically, because this work is about meaning. It's about how we navigate grief, sustain ourselves under pressure, create beauty alongside heartbreak, and even in the most uncertain moments, practice hope together. So thank you again for inviting me this evening and for honoring me. It's really a great pleasure. Thank you.